Now the Tour has moved into the Loire Valley for stage 3, and the town of Cholet is both start and finish on a tough 35.5 kilometre loop that is not only lumpy throughout but features a couple of sharp climbs, the second of them up to the second checkpoint at 26.5 kilometres to go.
Quintana looked like he could go faster leading them up that climb, but I wonder if the team are up to his standards at the moment. Mikel Landa was still there, Alejandro Valverde was still there, but on the road Movistar is sustaining losses against Team Sky. 27 seconds down at the second checkpoint for Valverde, Landa and Quintana. Not their best day so far. Froome taking the responsibility now, driving it on, hands over to Egan Bernal, the heir apparent perhaps in the Team Sky train. 1 kilometre to go. Bernal does a shorter turn than Froome now on the front, and already you're beginning to see that they are thinking about the sprint for the line. Jonathan Castroviejo is now on the front. Bernal just gritting his teeth and hanging on. Froome towards the back. They've still got 6 riders. They only need 4, but Froome and Thomas have to be among them. Castroviejo's the man on the front now. And behind him, Michał Kwiatkowski. Geraint Thomas is in 4th wheel. Gianni Moscon just in front of him. And there's a lot at stake here. Are we going to see Geraint Thomas propelling himself into the yellow jersey at the end of the day? He's the only rider high up in the general classification as things stand on stage 3. And so if they do win the team time trial and put time into everybody else, it'll be Thomas in yellow. Thomas could be having another one of his special days in the saddle, as he did last year, of course, in the individual time trial when the race got underway in Dusseldorf. And he takes the responsibility now of doing the final turn with just a couple of 100 metres to go. Geraint Thomas, the reigning, newly crowned individual time trial champion, the man who is looking at a yellow jersey in a stage win. They stop the clock and they take 5 seconds, the best part of 5 seconds, out of Mitchelton Scott. And they are going to bed down, I think, they hope, for a long stint in the hot seat. Big teams on the road still out there, and it won't be long before we see Movistar and BMC especially at the finish line. But that, well, is a perfect start for Team Sky. 38.50 is the target time, and they are well outside that, although it's perhaps not the disaster that we might have anticipated. They've still got a couple of hundred metres to go. 36, 37 seconds. If it's up as much as a minute, then you can almost start to think about Nairo Quintana's Tour de France being, well, if not holds beneath the waterline, then definitely in big trouble. They finished with 5 riders, 49.27 seconds behind Team Sky, and those are heavy losses. Let's just watch Lotto Soudal, who don't really have a GC rider here, all in for Andre Greipel and Tish Benoit and some others.
Just a quick update on the second intermediate time. BMC have come storming through there at 28.56, putting them 6 seconds faster than Team Sky at the second time check.
So BMC are flying, and they are a live and active threat to Team Sky out on the road if those timings are correct. And this is them. I think this must be recorded images, actually, because that information you've just given us. So they've just quickly turned this round, French television, to show us just what you've told us, David. That is the essentially 6 second deficit that, or benefit they have over Team Sky with 9 kilometres to go. Team Sky, though, are in the hot seat, and that could be good news for Geraint Thomas, who is talking to Matt Rendell.
Gee, you have yourself a well-deserved drink. How was that?
Yeah, it was good. I think we rode it well. Just myself, I'm a little bit disappointed. I felt like I didn't quite get it all out, you know? Yep. It was always seemed to be on the front. On the descents, you know, doing short turns and stuff, but no, I think we rode it really well technically, communicated well, and a few things we always think maybe could have gone a bit quicker, but yeah, to beat Orica or Mitchelton Scott, whatever they're called, is yeah, it's good, I guess.
You started with the right amount of riders and finished with the right amount of riders and shed riders on the way, according to a schedule, G?
No, it was more just, we knew we could afford to lose 2, Wout and Luke, but there was no sort of set plan to do it. Just if they didn't feel great, just to really commit and then go as far as they could, and that's what they did, and that's what it's all about, is just riding well like that together.
You are the coolest man on earth, but there is the matter of a yellow jersey awaiting news.
Still a lot of teams to come. BMC are my favourites, so we'll see.
Étoile Mondial went through the first checkpoint 32 seconds down on the best time of Mitchelton Scott. And that puts them on a par with UAE Team Emirates, just 1 second slower actually than Dan Martin's team. So Bardet and Martin, both those teams you would have expected not to be amongst the strongest, and that's being borne out so far on the road. Let's concentrate though on BMC.
So now it's Greg van Avermaet. He knows what's at stake. Yeah, every rider does. They do their calculations, and yet he's not holding anything back. And there's TJ Van Garderen on his wheel. So they're the two best placed riders on this team. They're 16 seconds off GC, 15 seconds is Geraint Thomas, and that's where the majority of riders are, because that time deficit is due to the time bonifications. But here we have TJ Van Garderen taking it to the line. He's their GC rider, and then you have Richie Porte behind. So there's the two of them. Richie Porte on TJ Van Garderen's wheel.
Might be enough for the best time. I don't know whether it's going to be enough for them to take yellow and wear it on the roads tomorrow. Team Sky 38.50, that's the time to beat BMC Racing now. Still not there. It's a long run in, isn't it, within the last 100 metres now. And BMC, are they going to get there? The clock ticking by. They're going to have a 4-second advantage over Team Sky, and they move into the hot seat. Just watch Sunweb off. Lawrence 10 down there, that familiar figure coming in. A last-minute call-up for the injured Wilco Kelderman. That might be a significant deficit, not just in the mountains, but in the team time trial discipline. But they do have Tom Dumoulin here, and they do have powerful riders like Michael Matthews and Nikias Arndt, and they're experienced and they're focused in this discipline. This team, Étoile Mondiale, riding for Romain Bardet. They went through the second checkpoint almost a minute down on the best time at that point, and they are continuing to lose time. BMC, though, as I've said, they're in the hot seat, dislodging Team Sky by 4 seconds. That means that Greg van Avermaet, as things stands, is the virtual maillot jaune of the Tour de France by a handful of seconds. It also means that Team Sky will have to wait a little bit longer to take their maiden team time trial victory at the Tour de France, as Chris Froome acknowledged when he spoke a few minutes ago to Matt Rendell.
It's no stage win, but a good ride.
I think so. I mean, still a lot of good teams to come through. So, but I'm really happy with how the guys rode. I think it was a strong effort from everyone. Yeah, I mean, not good enough to win the stage, but I think we're going to be right up there anyway.
And it's going to set you up just a little bit better in GC at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, obviously making up a bit of time now after the crash on stage 1. But yeah, still a lot of road to cover and a lot more still to come.
Right, this is important for Dan Martin, and as expected, it's far from ideal. I'm assuming that Martin is there and is being looked after, and that he's one of those riders. I'm not entirely convinced. Oh, there he is, just tucked in on the right-hand side of the road, breathing extremely heavily. 1.5 minute losses sustained by Team UAE Team Emirates. In fact, 1:38 in total down on BMC's time. That's a big loss.
Yeah, and then that puts Chris Froome 40 seconds ahead of him again. But on the bright side, if you're looking for bright sides, that would have been 1:30 behind Chris Froome if Chris Froome hadn't lost that time in the first day. So Dan Martin is relatively a positive human being, and I think that's hopefully how we'll be seeing it.
AG2R are properly racing. Only now do they take that final right-hander and line themselves up in the final 800 metres of the finish line in Cholet. When they went through the second checkpoint, they'd almost lost a minute to BMC. And there are 52 seconds with their losses to Team Sky at the second checkpoint. It's already 42 seconds to BMC. Don't forget, Team Sky were 4 seconds slower than BMC as well. So if you're looking at the Bardet-Froome calculation, it's slightly more complicated than that. And don't forget as well that Bardet, like Dan Martin, takes a 51-second advantage over Chris Froome into the time trial. So at the moment, he's only 10 seconds or thereabouts down on Chris Froome, but they're still not at the finish line. They've still got 150 metres to go. Bardet, part of the 4 remaining riders. Pierre Latour has dropped away, and they stop the clock at 1 minute and 14 seconds. So what is he, around about 25 seconds down on Chris Froome in the general classification.
Which again, although it's a loss today, is a bit of a win overall, because thanks to that first day, them losing the time, that's put Romain Bardet in a position that he couldn't have hoped for if that hadn't happened.
Well, next up, another one of the GC teams. Ilnur Zakharin, the Russian rider for a Russian team, or team at least with a Russian name. And they boast Tony Martin amongst their number. And over the best part of a decade, there has been no finer time trialist than Tony Martin, the multiple world and national champion. Tom Dumoulin, though, takes over from where the likes of Cancellara and Martin left off as the preeminent time trialist of his generation, and Dumoulin is trying to power Team Sunweb to victory and to make marches in the GC. 38.46, the target time for everyone else. That's the these are the intermediate standings after 13 kilometres. Team Sky going through 1 second slower. BMC, Mitchelton Scott the fastest at that point. BMC, parity really between them and Movistar. Movistar weakened, BMC got stronger, and they hold sway.
Team Sunweb are pegging back time here, which goes to show their pedigree and their experience. They are brilliant at riding these events, and it goes to show the fact they can keep a cool head even at this level is, well, they're reigning world champions in this discipline, and that's for a particular reason. They're trained, they're disciplined, they have the right physical attributes for it. They've done the right positioning. When you look at them, they almost look exactly the same position-wise on the bike. Simon Gesh perhaps is the only one that differentiates, 34, but apart from that, they're all very similar.
Lotto Soudal coming towards the finish line. Tish Benoot took his first ever professional win this year, which I found slightly remarkable. He'd never won a race to this point, but it happened to be a race that's rapidly becoming one of the greatest one-day races in the calendar. That was Strade Bianchi.
Tom Dumoulin himself leading the team, and I wouldn't be surprised if he tries and takes it all the way to the time check, because he is the strongest rider in the team. At certain points you have to assume that responsibility, and obviously saying team time trials don't go faster, just go longer, and that's exactly what Tom Dumoulin's doing here. So if you go fast, you'll explode the team, so you can't expect them to match the speed you have. You just have to take it to the speed they can ride at and can maintain, and just take it for as long as you can.
It's a short effort, this climb, isn't it? But the gradients are almost going at this speed that he's setting as well, almost negate the slipstreaming effect at this point. So it's just follow the wheel and hold on, isn't it? Get over the top and regroup, yes, and then enter a different phase again.
It's right on the cusp of benefiting from it's 12 seconds, so it's stabilised it, that's for sure. I mean, they haven't lost more team. So, I mean, they have to be 15 seconds of the first time check,
yep,
then 12 seconds there. They're one of the only teams that's going faster.
Kruijswijk and Roglic both there, and both racing for all they're worth, because Team Lotto Jumbo, who I thought might go pretty well here, have pulled up a little bit short of expectations, I would suggest, and they're going to cross the line provisional 7th place as things stand, 1 minute and 15 seconds down on the time of BMC. So, Lotto Jumbo over the line as 1T Group Gobert and the polka dot jersey roll off the start ramp. Sunweb will be the next really important team to post the time at the finish line.
Sunweb is going to be one of the fastest teams of today. Won't be able to get that fastest time now, but they're definitely going to be up there. That's Tom Dumoulin is handing over there to Michael Matthews. They just let it in. That's Michael Matthews. He's doing a great ride. Simon Genji is still there. Gesh.
Yeah, Soren Kragh Andersen as well. It's Soren Kragh Andersen, Dumoulin and Michael Matthews, who were the 3 members of the Tour de France team who last year rode to victory in the UCI World Team Time Trial Championships. Matthews on the front, Geschke there, Dumoulin at the back. Chad Hager is still there, Soren Kragh Andersen. That's your 5. They've got 8 seconds, 7 seconds, ticking down to get to the line if they're going to actually depose BMC from the hot seat, with just Quickstep incredibly to come as a threat to their primacy. That's not going to be quite enough, but it's an excellent effort and a huge last turn from Michael Matthews as well. It might just, on its own, have clawed back a second or 2. Great effort from Michael Matthews. They stopped the clock and they're 11.4 seconds slower than BMC. So job pretty well done by Dumoulin and his team. And the last team. Going to have to be the ride of their lives if they're going to defend that jersey from BMC.
Mark Cavendish, once again, talking about leaders.
He leads and you follow. The others are really struggling to hold his wheel as they come to the finish line. 1, 2, and a little shake of the head there from Mark Cavendish. I think he was just perhaps a bit dissatisfied that the other 2 riders didn't manage to hold on to his wheel as he opened up effectively a sprint for the line. Gaviria losing contact.
Well, that's a bit of a surprise to us anyway.
Now, a penny for the thoughts of Philippe Gilbert at this point, because if that is the case, and if Gaviria has gone and does drop away, then primacy in terms of the general classification, they're losing riders all over the place.
Wow.
In bits. Well, they've got 4, they've got 3 up front, they've got 2 riders chasing on. 102, that is de Klerk, isn't it?
Oh, this is a disaster. This is exactly how not to race a team time trial.
Well,
I don't know what's happened, whether one rider's just gone a bit too hard. Sometimes if a rider goes in the front and just accelerates a bit too much at a critical moment, then it explodes the team. And that's exactly what's happened here. Now, they still have 4 riders at the front, but they can't go this far with 4 riders.
They've got 6 now, haven't they?
Yeah, there's still...
It's only de Klerk and Gaviria who've actually been dropped, but they clearly had to slow to allow that group of 2 or 3 back on.
Oh, yeah, that was it's not something you expect of Quick-Step, who are such a disciplined team.
Vincenzo Nibali right at the back of this quartet, down to their bare bones, just 4... much like Katusha Alpecin, finishing with just 4, the minimum requirement. And credit to Pozzovivo, actually. That's remarkable that he is one of them who survived. Vincenzo Nibali, well, they have to protect him. It's all in for Vincenzo Nibali. Colbrelli, who came close to winning yesterday, he's not part of that quartet. Nibali is, though, but he's lost 105 to Richie Port. And big amounts of time to just about everybody else as well. Not the best day for Nibali, but opportunities all over the rest of the Tour de France for a rider like Vincenzo Nibali to take time back. This team time trial has not gone their way, but it is far from over. Well, Border Hansgrohe, I can tell you, have gone through the first checkpoint 13 seconds slower than Mitchelton Scott and 10 seconds slower than Quick-Step Floors. That yellow jersey at the moment is being taken off, at least in a virtual sense, from the shoulders of Peter Sagan. Greg Van Avermaet in the hot seat at the moment. BMC have posted the best time. No one's gone faster than them. And this team, as they lose another rider, that's the 3rd rider to go from Quick-Step Floors. But Philippe Gilbert, having seen his young teammate, that's Max Richesi, who's just gone, but Philippe Gilbert, having seen Fernando Gaviria go, is the best placed in the general classification for Quick-Step Floors. Now, at the moment, on the road, they're hovering around about 2 seconds slower than BMC. And that's just about enough for Philippe Gilbert, taking Peter Sagan out of the equation for the time being, to take the jersey, even if they don't take the stage win. If he finishes 1 second slower than BMC, Philippe Gilbert, he'll be the maillot jaune.
They're going to have to be careful here because they have to make sure they keep the speed up. This is the hardest section of the race, if you like, regards the gradient, at least, and at the top of it is the time check.
Losing a bit of time. It's going back in favour of Greg Van Avermaet at this point. They have lost a bit of time.
Same as
6
Team Sky.
seconds.
Same as Team Sky at that point, 6 seconds down, which and Team Sky at the finish were 4 seconds down on BMC Racing and still in 2nd place.
So Astana finishing with 4 now as one rider just drops away in the finish. Jakob Fuglsang just looking for him there. I would assume he's there.
That's him leading it. That's Jakob
he's on the
Fuglsang
front once again. Yeah. Too bad. Going to be comfortably inside a minute's deficit to BMC, and actually that's not too bad at all. The yellow jersey about to kick off to the left where the road narrows and then rises steeply to the 2nd and final intermediate checkpoint that we're going to get on stage 3, and it belongs to, well, it's going to belong to Peter Sagan and the yellow jersey. Marcus Burkhardt leading them up, Daniel Oss after Peter Sagan, and once again the leader moves to the fore as the road is about to rise up. Peter Sagan taking the weight of responsibility on his shoulders.
Yeah, this is
massive thighs.
This might be the reason they're down. They've lost a fair chunk of time because they've still got a bit to go.
Yeah.
I don't think Peter Sagan might be suffering a little bit because he's not even going to try and lead that up there. He did a short turn and is finding his place once more. So perhaps one of the rare occasions where we're not seeing Peter Sagan in absolute dominant form.
Well, if he wants to hold on to that jersey, he can only afford to take a 15, 16 second deficit over the top to BMC's best time. And it's looking like they're going to be well outside that. So competitive at the first time check, and on that fast part of the course after the first time check. They held their
Simon's
disadvantage.
really suffering there. He can't hold the wheel. He just changed it up, but he's losing, getting distance slightly. He's just letting go. I think he's just going to hang on, but it's going to be by the skin of his teeth.
And again, communication, David, as you're explaining,
he's out.
is popped.
Yeah. There he goes. Just you could kind of see that coming. He thought that maybe he was resting up to contribute, but actually he's just on a bad day. It even happens to Peter Sagan.
Don't see it often, do you? So he's gone. The yellow jersey is passing definitively. They're not waiting for him. They're not sending a man back. They're not holding up. When you go like that, on a slope like that, then it's an irretrievable position for him. As quick-step floors now, with Gilbert on the front, have lost Terpstra. He's gone. He's the rider who's gone. So they've only got Alaphilippe. I say only, but they're down to 4 now. Now watch that time. BMC Racing's team time is 38.46 over the line. That means that Philippe Gilbert can afford to be no slower than 38.48. That's the time, their target time now. If they assume, as I think we have to, that BMC are going to win this team time trial. The yellow jersey, though, still just about in the balance, and who more fitting to wear it than the former world champion from Belgium in the colours now of quick-step floors. What a result that would be. 38.46 the time, 38.48 is the target time, 38.47 if he can get there for Philippe Gilbert. He can't sprint on his own. It's about the 4th rider, don't forget. They're 4 seconds from BMC's time. They've still got a couple of 100 metres to go. 140 is going to be incredibly close. The clock ticking over now. It goes to Greg Van Avermaet, though. Not only BMC's win, but the yellow jersey as well, by a slender margin, just a handful of seconds. BMC take the win. Van Avermaet, for the 2nd time in his career, is going to enjoy a spell in yellow. Job done. And they are sharing the love amongst them.
One of the longer waits in the hot seat of BMC's time trialling history. They don't generally have 17 teams starting after them, and the 16th of them made them sweat, or sweat even more. There's the result. Quick-Step came within 7 seconds of the win and Sky within 4. In fact, with Mitchelton, Scott and Sunweb right up there too, 11 seconds covered the top 5. Education First were a better than expected 6 at 35 seconds. Bora, Astana, Katusha and Movistar were at 50, 51, 52 and 53 seconds. Outside the top 10 and outside a minute of the best time were Bahrain Merida, AG2R and UAE Team Emirates. Now, the only other time you see a team on the podium is in Paris, so this is a moment to savour for BMC. Peter Sagan rolled in nearly 3 minutes behind the majority of his team, alongside Marcus Burghardt. No longer required for the yellow jersey presentation, but needed for the green.
I'm very sorry for my teammates today, because I had really a little bit bad day, but well, could happen. Then yeah, I still holding green jersey, then I try to do my best in next days to keep it.
Greg Van Avermaet won't keep yellow to Paris, but has the chance of a stage win in the next couple of days, and will look to keep it for as long as it's not taking away from the team's overall effort for Richie Porte.
Greg, you're looking good in yellow. How do you feel?
Really good, yeah. It's always a dream to be in yellow. I had the experience one time before, and then you feel how big it is, and happy to do it a 2nd time. And yeah, for me, it was a team effort. I knew there was a chance that everything went right, and it went right. So I want to thank really my teammates and the team, all the staff around, to have this performance.
So here's what the team time trial has done to the top of the standings. Greg Van Avermaet has the lead on count back from his teammate TJ Van Garderen. Geraint Thomas is 3rd at 3 seconds, and Philippe Gilbert the first of 3 quick-step riders between 5 and 7 seconds back. Then come 3 Sunwebs led by Tom Dumoulin. The early result had Peter Sagan in 10th, having mistakenly given him the same time as his team. In fact, it's Rigoberto Urán, 35 seconds off the race lead. Jakob Fuglsang and Richie Porte are tied on 51 seconds, just ahead of the Movistar pair of Landa and Valverde, Chris Froome and Adam Yates.
So, Richie, 51 seconds back now, and that puts you back, you know, within that minute, within a zone of being among the contenders, indeed ahead of a lot of contenders.
Yeah, I think firstly, it's nice to enjoy the moment of winning the team time trial with a super team. They were really fantastic today, but yeah, I think looking forward to the battle, it's still get through these next days. Yeah, there's not a moment in this tour that you can relax. You know, we saw what happened on the first stage, so yeah, it is nice to take some time back on the big favourites, but yeah, I'm looking forward to hitting the Alps, that's for sure.
And was there ever a moment, you know, after stage 1, Oh, Richie's lost another handful of seconds again at the start of the tour.
Yeah, 100%. It's not as bad as how I was this time last year. Year to the day, I was lying in a ditch, you know. So look, I think, you know, you have to make it to Paris to be up there, but it wasn't ideal to just throw 51 seconds away. But, you know, thankfully some of the other GC guys did exactly the same.
Well, let's strip everybody but the overall contenders out of the standings and see if we can make today's results a bit clearer. Geraint Thomas is the first of them, but perhaps the happiest man will be Tom Dumoulin. Having started the day 51 seconds ahead of Porte, Froome and Yates, he conceded only 11, 7 and 2 seconds to them respectively. Rigoberto Urán can be pretty happy too, still with 20 seconds on Froome, 4 less to Richie Porte. Valverde and Landa are right in between Porte and Froome. Adam Yates is still within 5 seconds of the defending champion. Vincenzo Nibali and Romain Bardet have seen 51-second leads turned into deficits of 11 and 20 seconds on Froome, but might be relieved thinking how much worse things could have been if they'd started the day equal on time. Nairo Quintana is now 2 minutes 8 seconds down overall, more than a minute on most of his rivals.